The man who was rich for 48 hours. The money arrived at 6:42 a.m. Daniel Harper didn't notice it at first. He was half awake, standing in his kitchen waiting for coffee to finish brewing. His phone buzzed on the counter. He ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again. When he finally looked down, he assumed it was a system error or a delayed notification from the night before. Daniel was not the kind of person who expected surprises from banks, especially not good ones. When he unlocked his phone, the screen took a moment to load. Then the number appeared. $12,347,918.62. For a second, his brain rejected it. His balance had never had more than 4 digits before. Daniel worked in logistics coordination for a mid-sized shipping company in Ohio. He paid rent. He tracked expenses. He checked his account every few days to make sure nothing unexpected happened. Nothing like this had ever happened. He refreshed the app. The number stayed. Daniel sat down slowly at the kitchen table, the coffee machine forgotten. His hands were shaking, not with excitement but with confusion. He logged out and logged back in. He checked the account number. Everything matched. He opened the transaction history. Incoming transfer, corporate adjustment. No sender name, no explanation, just the money. For several minutes, Daniel didn't move. He didn't smile. He didn't call anyone. His first instinct wasn't celebration, it was fear. Big money didn't appear without consequences. He knew that much. He called his bank. After navigating automated menus and waiting on hold, he finally reached a representative. He explained calmly that there had been a mistake, that a very large amount of money had appeared in his account and that he believed it didn't belong to him. The representative put him on hold. When she returned, her tone had changed. She asked him to confirm his identity again. She asked how long he had noticed the balance. She asked whether he had initiated any transfers recently. Daniel answered everything honestly. She told him the issue would be escalated and advised him not to move the funds. Daniel agreed immediately. He had no intention of touching the money. He hung up feeling uneasy but relieved. He had done the right thing. He assumed the money would disappear as suddenly as it had arrived. It didn't. By midday, the balance was still there. By evening, nothing had changed. Daniel barely slept that night. He kept checking his phone, expecting the number to reset to normal. He imagined waking up to emails, phone calls, demands. None came. The bank did not contact him again. The next morning, the money was still there. Daniel went to work, but he couldn't focus. Numbers on spreadsheets blurred together. Conversations sounded distant. He kept thinking about the account, about the responsibility sitting quietly in his name. At lunch, he called the bank again. This time, the representative seemed less concerned. She told him the transfer was under review and that these things sometimes took time. She repeated the advice not to move the funds. Daniel asked how long it might take. She didn't know. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. Daniel received an email from his bank congratulating him on recent account activity and offering him premium financial services. Another email followed, advertising private wealth management. The system had accepted the money as real, and for the first time, Daniel wondered what would happen if it stayed. He imagined possibilities he had never allowed himself to consider: paying off debt, helping his parents, leaving a job he hated, starting over. The thoughts came uninvited, but they came fast. He didn't act on them, but the idea that he could, that possibility alone changed something inside him. That evening, Daniel told his sister. She laughed at first, assuming it was a joke. Then he showed her the balance. Her reactions shifted instantly. She told him to be careful, to document everything, to talk to a lawyer if necessary. She also asked the question everyone would eventually ask. What if they say it's yours? Daniel didn't answer. The second night was worse than the first. He dreamed of alarms, of locked accounts, of police knocking on his door. He woke up repeatedly checking his phone in the dark. At 7:11 a.m. on the second day, the balance changed. Not down, up. Interest had been applied. It was a small amount, but it made everything feel real in a way Daniel hadn't expected. The system wasn't treating the money as temporary, it was treating it as legitimate. Daniel panicked. He called the bank again, more urgently this time. He explained that interest had been applied and that this was clearly an error. The representative sounded confused. She transferred him to a supervisor. The supervisor asked him where the money came from. Daniel told him he didn't know. The supervisor paused, then asked him to hold. When the call resumed, Daniel was told that the transfer was part of an internal adjustment and that the bank was still verifying the source. Daniel asked if he needed to do anything. The supervisor told him no. "Just don't spend it," he said. Daniel hung up feeling worse than before. By the afternoon of the second day, rumors had reached the bank's compliance department. Large, unexplained balances triggered automated alerts. Daniel's account was flagged for review. A fraud analyst pulled his file. From the analyst's perspective, the situation looked different. A regular individual account. No history of wealth. No prior large transfers. Suddenly holding over $12 million. That didn't look like an error. It looked like laundering. The analyst forwarded the case to risk management. At 9:03 p.m. that night, Daniel's account was frozen. He discovered this when his debit card declined at a grocery store. Embarrassed, he apologized to the cashier and paid with cash. On the walk home, his phone buzzed with notifications. "Account access restricted. Please contact your bank." Daniel called immediately. This time, the tone was cold. He was told his account was under investigation. He was asked whether he had any documentation proving the origin of the funds. He explained again that the money was not his and that he had reported it immediately. The representative noted his statement and ended the call. The next morning, Daniel was contacted by law enforcement. They arrived at his apartment calmly, professionally. They asked to speak with him. They explained that his account had been linked to a suspicious transfer and that they needed to ask a few questions. Daniel cooperated fully. He showed call logs, emails, notes he had taken during conversations with the bank. He repeated the same story he had been telling from the beginning. He never touched the money. He never moved it. He reported it immediately. The officers listened politely. Then they left. 2 days later, Daniel was formally notified that he was being investigated for financial misconduct. The bank had reversed the transfer. The $12 million vanished from his account. But the investigation didn't. Daniel assumed that once the money was gone, the issue would resolve itself. Instead, things escalated. His account remained frozen. His credit card stopped working. His employer received a notice requesting employment verification related to a financial inquiry. Daniel was placed on unpaid leave. The narrative had shifted. In internal documents, Daniel was no longer described as recipient of erroneous transfer. He was described as subject. The bank's internal review uncovered a routing error tied to a corporate account. The money had been intended for a subsidiary account during a reconciliation process. The mistake was theirs. But correcting the mistake wasn't enough. Compliance needed to prove that Daniel hadn't attempted to conceal, move, or benefit from the funds. And proving innocence inside a financial system is harder than proving guilt. Every delay became suspicious. Every question became a test. Daniel hired a lawyer using borrowed money. The lawyer explained that these cases often dragged on for months, sometimes years, that institutions moved slowly when they were protecting themselves. Daniel asked why he was being treated like a criminal when he had reported the mistake immediately. The lawyer didn't sugarcoat it. "Because," he said, "you were rich for long enough to scare them." The case moved quietly. No headlines, no public statements, just letters, interviews, requests for documentation Daniel didn't have. His savings dwindled. His mental health deteriorated. Friends grew distant, unsure whether to believe him or the implication hanging over his life. 2 years passed. The investigation concluded with no charges. No apology was issued. No compensation offered. The bank closed the case internally, citing lack of evidence of intent. Daniel was cleared without announcement, but the damage was permanent. His employer never reinstated him. His credit score took years to recover. Job applications went unanswered. The words financial investigation followed him invisibly. Daniel was rich for 48 hours, and he spent years paying for it. Today, Daniel lives quietly. He doesn't check his balance obsessively anymore. He doesn't trust notifications. He doesn't dream about sudden wealth. He understands something most people don't, that money doesn't just change lives when you have it. Sometimes, it ruins them when you don't.